Imagine a world where your body isn't really your own, where some hidden secret basically dictates your fate.
That sounds intense.
It was reality for so many young women back in the 1970s, and it's brought vividly to life in Grady Hendrix's novel, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls.
That's the one published just this year, January 2025, right? A big book, nearly 500 pages.
Exactly. Now, before we really get into this story, it's all about female empowerment, oppression, resistance. We want to mention a great resource if you want to explore themes like this further.
Oh, yeah.
There's a YouTube channel called Mindful Moments. They do these AI book analyses, and it really sparks reflection, critical thinking, kind of like what we hope to do today.
Sounds interesting. A good parallel.
So our aim here is to try and understand what these young women went through in 1970, the societal pressures, and, well, the pretty surprising ways they tried to grab back some power.
Okay, let's dive in.
Let's start with the scene. St. Augustine, Florida, May 1970. What's important about that time, that place?
Well, 1970 itself is pivotal. It's before Roe v. Wade.
Right. Before the big Supreme Court decision.
Exactly. So for pregnant teenagers back then, options were, frankly, incredibly limited, highly stigmatized, all kept very secret.
And the wider context. There was upheaval, Vietnam, protests.
Yeah, there was definitely social change in the air, but when it came to unmarried pregnant women, society's views were still deeply, deeply conservative.
And the main setting, Wellwood House. It's described like this grand old plantation home, almost like Gone with the Wind.
That imagery, it creates this really stark contrast, doesn't it?
How so?
You have this romanticized idea of the Old South, this facade of gentility, but it clashes hard with what the house actually is, a place of confinement, of control for these young women.
And this is where the main character, Neva Craven, arrives. But they immediately rename her Fern. What's the significance there?
It's powerful symbolism. Renaming her is basically stripping away her identity, forcing her into this new compliant role within Wellwood.
Erasing her past.
Completely. The whole point of the place was to hide these pregnancies, manage them discreetly, and then, facilitate adoptions.
But Fern isn't alone. She connects with Rose, Zinnia, and Holly. What do those early bonds tell us?
They're so important. Even though they're different, you've got Rose determined to keep her baby, Zinnia hoping to marry the father, and Holly, who's mute and very young, very vulnerable.
Right.
Their shared situation, being isolated, judged.
Right.
It creates this immediate necessary bond, a sisterhood born out of necessity.
Then comes a big shift. Fern meets a character named Miss Parquet and finds a book, How to Be a Groovy Witch. How does that change things?
Yes. This introduces this element of, forbidden knowledge. It offers a potential pathway to power for these girls.
In a situation where they have basically zero control.
Precisely. Witchcraft becomes this secret thing, maybe a tool they can learn to wield against the system they're trapped in.
But the book makes it clear this isn't like Bewitched, right? It's described as something much rawer.
Definitely not whimsical. It's portrayed as really primal, deeply connected to their anger, their grief, that sense of injustice.
And there's a mention of blood sacrifice.
Yes, and that really underlines the idea that this kind of power comes with a serious cost. It's gritty resistance, not some easy magical fix.
The novel also includes some pretty graphic depictions of childbirth, doesn't it?
It really doesn't shy away from that. It shows the immense physical, emotional ordeal these young women face. They're even referred to clinically as patients, which is quite dehumanizing.
How does sharing that experience alongside the witchcraft affect their relationships?
It deepens everything. The shared trauma of birth, combined with these secret acts of witchcraft they're exploring, it forges an incredibly strong sisterhood. That becomes their vital support system.
So pulling back a bit, what are the big themes you see playing out in the book? Female autonomy feels central.
Oh, absolutely. Wellwood House itself is this potent symbol of, patriarchal control. Control over women's bodies, their choices. The book is really sharp in showing the psychological manipulation used to make them feel ashamed, powerless.
And the witchcraft. More than just a plot point.
Much more. It works almost like a metaphor for finding agency, for empowerment. In a place designed to strip all that away, witchcraft gives them something.
But not without its issues.
Exactly. It's not presented as a purely good thing. There are consequences, responsibilities that come with that power. It reflects the complexity of fighting back from within an oppressive system.
And the sisterhood theme seems absolutely key to their survival.
It's their lifeline, really. Facing all that trauma, that systemic oppression, their solidarity gives them strength, comfort, And you see hints that it leads towards eventual healing, reconnection later in their lives.
It's amazing how a story set over 50 years ago feels so relevant now. Reviews have pointed that out, connecting it to current debates.
That connection is hard to miss. Exploring these pre-Roe realities, it takes on this renewed, almost unsettling significance today, given recent shifts in reproductive rights discussions. It really makes you think.
The characters themselves are just so well drawn. Fern's arc, Rose's defiance.
Zinnia's hope for a different outcome, Holly's vulnerability. Each one shows a different facet of the experience, don't they? Fern's journey from victim to someone empowered is central. Rose is that fiery resistance. Zinnia holds on to that hope of marriage as an escape route. And Holly's silence, it speaks volumes about trauma.
Even the authority figures like Miss Wellwood or Miss Parquet.
They represent different aspects of control and maybe catalysts for change, even if unintentionally in Parsi's case with the book.
In Hendrix's writing style, this Southern Gothic feel mixed with real emotional weight and the supernatural horror elements.
It creates this really palpable atmosphere, doesn't it? That sense of unease mirrors the girls' inner lives. And blending the raw emotion, especially in those birth scenes with the supernatural, it makes for a very immersive, very impactful read.
Learning that Hendrix was inspired by a family member's actual experience in a similar home, that adds another layer, doesn't it?
It really does. It brings this incredible emotional authenticity to it all. It underlines why remembering these hidden histories, giving voice to these silenced experiences is so important.
So, reflecting on Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, what are the key takeaways that stick with you?
Well, it forces you to confront those historical injustices, the harsh limits placed on women's choices. But it also powerfully highlights the strength you find in female solidarity in those bonds.
It's resilience.
Exactly. The resilience in the face of just immense adversity. It shows that desire for agency, for connection, it persists even in the darkest situations. And that core theme of bodily autonomy. It's undeniable, incredibly powerful.
Stories like this are so vital, aren't they? They shine a light on forgotten parts of history, spark needed conversations, much like, the analyses you find on channels like Mindful Moments or hopefully in our conversations here.
Absolutely. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? What other hidden histories, what other untold stories are out there just waiting to be unearthed?
What power lies in finally acknowledging the experiences of those who were silenced for so long?
A really potent question to consider.
Definitely. So if this exploration resonated with you today, please do subscribe and maybe share it with others who might find it interesting.
You can find a link to purchase Witchcraft for Wayward Girls in our show notes if you want to read it yourself.
And most importantly, keep thinking critically about the stories we consume, the stories that shape how we understand our world.